Hello and welcome to our presentation, new for 2022, Pride as a Tactic, Not Just a Strategy. And what we're going to talk about is a little bit of the fundamentals of the strategy of how to reach the LGBTQ market online, and then a variety of tactics to not only show you how to get there, but in addition really help spread that out over the course of 365 days per year. So the foundation at the very beginning is always about what are we sharing, what are we posting, what is our collateral material. And it could be anything from photos, videos, the written word in form of articles or blogs. But you're starting with the content and then you're distributing it out there through whether it's Facebook, targeted paid advertising, or just organic free posts. And that could not only be Facebook, it could be Twitter, Instagram, a variety of different social media, or your websites and a variety of different other platforms out there. But in addition, then how are you monitoring it? Number one, is it working for you? And you could do this through Twitter and Facebook as far as some of the analytics that they provide for free. But in addition, you could actually monitor hashtags, kind of get a sense of where you're at, what kind of share of voice you have in the hashtag environment itself. And then while you're monitoring, you can really start to then pick up and engage with others that are in your industry, that are just individual users, like say at a Pride Festival in your destination. But that's how, in the monitoring side, is how you start to pick up on that and then be able to be a part of those conversations. But here's one of the charts that we had put together here last year. We won't get into a lot of the details of it because that's kind of a whole other presentation. But what we'll do is talk about where would you want to be and where do you want to put your focus in, especially in 2022 when it comes to this social media outreach. And so what we're going to do is kind of lay out where we see a lot of the different social media platforms and where they are on this chart. Facebook, of course, being the one that most people are comfortable with. They understand, even our grandparents understand how to share recipes on Facebook. So, but as you see, everything that's below the line is just reaching more of a direct one-on-one relationship with followers. Everything above the line is showing that you're able to actually reach folks outside of your direct network, friends of friends. And that's how you really get a post to be able to kind of go viral or mini viral. So we're just going to go ahead and lay out a variety of these. I'll give a quick little summary at the end. But as you can see, it's that social media power zone. That's our goal, is to really be able to focus and leverage the opportunities that are found there. You'll see a few key highlights. Number one, in the bottom left where it says LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn groups, by the way, have improved over the last month. And so they're starting to work their way up into closer to the power zone. It's just the algorithms that these social media platforms use. Facebook was in the same situation. And next thing you know, groups have a whole new life and can be very, very effective in reaching folks you don't know and be able to get your company's word out. And then lastly, I show a Facebook normal business page on the far bottom left. And that's for most of us. Unless you're paying Facebook for advertising, most of our Facebook business pages are not that effective. But you can actually log in and act as the page itself and not just your personal profile. And some businesses do that, and you're able to kind of shift that along and make that much more powerful. And as you can see, Instagram, everyone's favorite. Instagram is there, but it's still much more of a one-on-one relationship with followers, and it's very strong on the celebrity side of life. And lastly, TikTok. And TikTok kind of straddles both areas because they have two different feeds, but we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But the most important part is understanding in that power zone, and everything above that line is that your goal is to be able to put a lot of emphasis into reaching friends of friends, folks you don't know, but that are aligned with and in sync and sharing a lot of the same ideas and concepts with your target market. And so we talk about engagement. What is engagement? Especially to a destination. But engagement really means, number one, just knowing who your followers are and monitoring conversations that are in your industry. And especially in this user-generated content. People are out there traveling. They're going to the Coachella Valley. What can you do to be able to comment, like, or share, staying engaged with some of these folks? But in addition, if you are a destination, you're going to have businesses, restaurants, hotels, and so forth that are posting as well. And of course, we're showing this on Twitter because you can't really share a whole lot on Instagram, Facebook, and so forth. It's much more limited in what you're able to do. But when you're on Twitter, you're able to monitor these profiles or these businesses that are in your industry, and you're able to engage with them. And of course, it's just showing another example for a hotel. And so being engaged and working within that power zone means that fundamentally you are separating the success of your social media posts from the number of followers you have. So on Instagram, it's all about your follower base. It's all about your count. And so if a company's going to work with an Instagram influencer, the followers are the first place they look. And then they'll look at the comments and, who are these followers and so forth. But that comes secondary. Really, it's this number. But once you're in the power zone where you're reaching friends of friends, you're divorcing yourself. You're separating from the concept that I need a lot of followers in order to be able to be successful. So this is just a post I found very recently, but it was a really good example because this post has received hundreds of thousands of likes and as well as retweets and so forth. And you look at the size of the profile. It's not that large. And it's not a sponsored post. This was not a paid for advertising. It was just when you do some of the right things, which we'll talk about, in your posts, you're able to have your posts and your social media activity and outreach be able to perform like this once in a while as well. And lastly, why is this important? Well, social media, this is kind of where we're at as of 2021. And as you see, Facebook is the largest. But again, it's siloed. You're really reaching a much more direct one-on-one relationship with folks. And on your personal profile, it's only 5,000 you can reach. Instagram being number 2. Twitter's at the very bottom. But it makes up for that based upon the fact that you were able to, when you are engaged, commenting, liking, and sharing, you are able to reach out within your own direct followers network into a much larger world. And that's the power that's given to Twitter here. And as you'll notice, TikTok is number 3. They're really the up-and-comer in all this. And we don't get a lot into the details of TikTok, but TikTok is an area that you're finding a lot of companies find success in as well. And why for destinations and so forth is this important? Because here was just something I picked up just recently from CNBC, but they are showing the percentages of Gen Z and millennials and how they use social media in order to be able to determine where they're going to go on their vacations and other forms of travel. And on the bottom there, it talks about TikTok. And even TikTok has become very strong when it comes to not just creating inspiration, but really helping guide folks along when it comes to their decisions that they're making in travel. And that's our business with I Love Gay. And so I Love Gay is a Twitter network, now over 550,000 followers and growing, that kind of taps into this concept of staying engaged, working in that power zone, and being able to work within Twitter's algorithm to be able to make sure that our posts are being seen by the relevant right individuals. And that's what we were able to do for our clients. And in addition, that's how we work with influencers. So in this environment, when we're engaged and we're especially if, let's just say, if it's I Love Gay Travel, and we're very focused on a lot of the LGBT travel influencers and other content that's out there, that's how we end up bumping into and staying engaged with travel influencers that then we're able to work with on a variety of different client projects. So it's all related, and it's all very natural, it's very human. So what is it as far as, you're getting the posts out there? How do you post? Structure is important. So structure is pretty much universal across, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's all about creating their posts, being succinct, being able to, on Twitter, what can you say in 280 characters? And then using the @ symbol and relevant hashtags in order to be able to kind of maximize your posts. And with the @ symbol, what you're doing is you're connecting your post up to the subjects and different relevant profiles that are part of your tweet. And when you're doing that, it enables you the potential to be able to tap into their networks as well. And so this is just showing kind of the structure that was used for a LGBT program we did with Seattle several years ago. And so it's the structure. Here we're showing a very similar post, but using video. And video is very, very hot nowadays because it really performs, it gets people's attention. And so you're able to use video, photos, same thing, structure is the same. Here I'm showing and highlighting the link because the link, especially in Twitter, gives you a call to action. People see what they see, click, and they're able to go directly where you want to lead them, which is something you can't do on Instagram. So it's very interesting as far as, they're all very uniform, but it's the power of how these posts work for you varies based on the platform. So let's talk about a case study. We recently worked with Palm Springs, and what we were able to do, I'm highlighting this first, especially during the pandemic, there's not a lot of opportunities to be able to capture fresh new travel content. So what we did is we identified a variety of different media and influencers that had really good content out there about Palm Springs, but it was kind of out of date. So we approached them and said, hey, can we work with you to update it? But while you're doing that, both include Visit Palm Springs in the updated posts. And in addition, can you share these updated articles on your social media profiles? So we work with Two Bad Tourists, Nomadic Boys, but you can get a sense right out of the gate how we're able to be successful with a campaign like this, because look at the number of likes that these folks delivered and number of comments and shares, which shows that the number of people that saw that updated article was measured in the tens of thousands, if not over 100,000. And so what you're doing is you're tapping into the work that these influencers and other LGBT media are doing when it comes to not just Facebook, Twitter, and so forth, but also stories on Instagram and TikTok. So all of this was a great way to be able to get things started. And then, based upon everything we talked about, what we did is then we engaged with and we monitored all of the LGBT-oriented posts that Visit Palm Springs was doing. So just here's a variety of different examples. They were doing the posting, and what we did was we shared within our I Love Gay Twitter network. And it wasn't something we could really do on Facebook or Instagram. This was really primarily exclusively on Facebook. But you can see the quality of the posts. They're very good posts, and each one of them performed very well. And we were just part of the equation. They were already succeeding on their own, but we were just kind of part of that conversation and helped push those along. But in addition, we actually worked with Visit Palm Springs to take some of their content and post it from I Love Gay Palm Springs. And posting it this way means that then we were able to promote and advertise it and get that out there, not only on Twitter, but also on Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. So we're able to take a lot of these posts and really kind of amplify them to a targeted audience that was interested in travel to Palm Springs. And video became a key component of this. And so they had two really good videos that were focused, one more general on LGBT travel to Palm Springs and another one that was very family focused. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but there are so many various niche groups within the LGBT community that you can really speak to and cater to in terms of getting your message out there, whether it's parents, music lovers, movie fans, and bears, which is a whole different category. And it's incredible the opportunities that are available today. So targeting, what was that advertising like? So this is showing Facebook targeting, but it's pretty universal across the board, whether it was for banner ads, for videos, mobile apps. It's all about being able to kind of geo-target exactly who you want to reach in a specific region, and then based on interests. And what we were able to do is reach an LGBT audience of travelers that had shown an interest in travel, in this case showing Spain, but it could have been Palm Springs or any destination. And you can manipulate that kind of data and target almost any niche, whether it's an LGBT audience that's interested in buying real estate or insurance and so forth. There's so many opportunities. And so this applies, whether it's social media, video, banner ads, and mobile apps. And so it's all kind of that same language and the same opportunities. And so this is just showing a few examples of some of the targeting that's available. It's immense. There's thousands and thousands of data points when it comes to targeting. So you can make sure your message is getting out there just to the right LGBT travel individual that you're trying to reach. And in addition, connected TV. So now all that same technology allows you to take those nice, really high quality videos in a 16:9 ratio and about 15 seconds long. And you're able to get those out there on whether it's Roku, Pluto TV, and a lot of the newer streaming services that are out there. And now we know Netflix is going to be getting into that as well. So all of this is now kind of come together, and through technology is available for very easy reach and advertising. So going back to Palm Springs, here we were talking about working with influencers and content, and then they had Pride. Pride came along, and this campaign was kind of smack dab in the middle of it. So with Pride, Palm Springs brought in a variety of different influencers to kind of showcase Palm Springs during Pride. And we were able to team up with them and be able to take their videos, their blog posts, and their different content that they created and really amplify that out there, not only through the I Love Gay network, but then also through paid advertising, whether it was Facebook paid. We could have even turned this into banner ads if that was an option that the client was interested in. But here's other, other content. So other influencers were out there. In this case, 27 Travels. They're going out there in some of before Pride and then during Pride, and we're able to work with them and showcase their content as part of this campaign. And then, of course, it gives us a really great opportunity during Pride to become part of the conversation. Every Pride festival across the nation and really around the world, you'll really see a lot of strong user-generated content that's developed during that. And it's not just Pride, it's a lot of different events and opportunities where folks are out there, they know which hashtags to use, and you can monitor those hashtags. And so by so doing, you then are able to have yourself or your client or whatever the opportunity is become part of those conversations. And so it's all about engaging with. And these are just a few examples of some really strong content, including Promo Homo TV was actually recording the Pride Festival live. And Out Magazine was out there in full force as well. So leveraging other media and influencers and user-generated content. And then we also captured content, but not directly. We partnered with local media. So local media was there, such as Gay Desert Guide, and then we were able to work with them to be able to take that content that they were capturing during Pride and, of course, amplify that out there as well. And so there was some great content, great opportunities, and you kind of see a theme, content, and then how is it distributed and reaching the right target audience. And then we also incorporated something on the side, our I Love Gay Today show. So we have a show online, a variety of different interviews, business leaders and folks that are in the LGBT community. And so we did a focus on Palm Springs, and whether it was for the film festival, the Purple Room there as one of the business leaders in Palm Springs, and Gay Desert Guide. And what we're able to do is work with these folks in order to be able to not only kind of create really good content, but then make that part of the campaign as well. And as a side note, when you're interviewing, you're doing interviews or you're creating any content where the subject has a strong social media following, this is the sort of thing that can happen, is that then they'll take your content and run with it through their social media networks as well. So you kind of get a sense of how all this is connected and related and how it can really amplify your message in ways that sometimes you don't even know how far it can really go. And again, monitoring. So here we are monitoring and trying to pay attention to what's going on in the world of LGBT travel to Palm Springs year round. And then next thing you know, there's the Amazing Race winners. These two guys, they had a gay couple, won Amazing Race a few years back, and now they're out there in Palm Springs doing an entire travel show. And so we were able to kind of tap into, they had creating some great features, and those features made for some great content. And when we promoted it in this way, they noticed it because we tagged them, and then they shared it across their networks as well. So all this, again, related and just continues to keep your content and your story and your message out there year round. So when we talk about bears, as far as just one of the many niche markets, they're very strong. This is just showing what we're doing with I Love Gay Bears. And not only are we out there kind of with an entire group of followers, and we're following a variety of different bears that are out there, and bears just meaning, usually they're men in their 40s or 50s. They can be younger, but it's more of a, well, let's just say more manly men. That it's an entire niche group out there that's even spoken to by specific media that reaches them. And what you really want to do is be able to tap into, if you're going to create a message and that's your target market for a certain campaign, there's a lot of opportunities you have to be able to tap into and find those folks as well. And there's such a variety. Sports, theater, youth, and especially the transgender community. In traditional media, very difficult to reach, and you can't really target through data. It's just not allowed. And so, but finding different, like say, Facebook groups, Twitter profiles and so forth that have a strong following in the transgender community, and you can actually reach and make outreach to this group. And what's coming up later this year is taking a lot of this content. Let's just say there's that group of influencers, they're in Palm Springs, but then each one of them has kind of created a segment on food, on restaurants, or whatever that is, but kind of related to food, or it could be related to film and movies and whatever niche you want to really focus on. But then taking those and then combining those into kind of an overarching story, whether it's a blog post or video. So in this case, this is just showing that, one of the examples is for gastronomy. But being able to focus on the gastronomy of a region based upon the content that you've developed, working with influencers and even other user-generated content. So what are others doing out there? And so this is just a few examples. Long Beach has dedicated LGBT profiles both on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook that is dedicated to just, in this case, Visit Gay Long Beach, LGBT travel to Long Beach. But you're seeing this across the board. I know Virginia has one. Here's the example for Miami. And the UK, Visit Gay Britain. So you're just seeing more and more of this where they're creating a dedicated social media platform that's able to specifically not only speak to that audience, but also share and engage with that audience and be able to share and engage with content that's specific to LGBT travel to those destinations. And so it's starting to really make sense. It's kind of an efficient use of time, resources, and really narrows that conversation to exactly who you're trying to talk to, speak to, and reach. In addition, mayor's offices and other kind of city organizations are actually creating entire organizations that are dedicated to and led by LGBT leaders in the business and political community that allow them to really be able to focus that message as well. You're seeing this not only in Philadelphia, but in Boston and DC and a variety of different cities across the US. And then lastly, just measuring performance. You're able to not only do all this work and get all this activity going out there, but then you're able to see how is it performing for me. And they're really, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, they're really good at being able to dive in and show you, how many people have you reached, how many click-throughs, how much did it cost, and, and also did people really like the content, so you can actually drill down into not only the demographics, but how they reacted. And so this is the example for Twitter. And so Twitter, these are video posts, and this is just showing across the board that organically, which is the blue, you're able to get a really decent reach out there on a lot of your posts if you're doing the things that we've talked about. But when you boost it with kind of a paid targeted component to that, to your advertising, you're able to really get, especially in this case, a lot more video views, which ultimately is what you're looking for: video views, click-throughs, and so forth. And the same goes for Facebook. This is Facebook's analytics. And again, same things. You're able to kind of dive in and see how many people saw my post, how many clicked through, but even more important in some ways, how many people engaged with it, how many people were interested with what we had to talk about. So that's my presentation. If you have any questions or would like to follow up further, please feel free to contact either myself or Fabrice in our Los Angeles office at any time. And I thank you for your time.